I'm going to give an overview on the internationalization. I'm going to do it on two parts. One will be on how the internationalization is presented within SMEs and other companies. And the second is to give you an overview on the financing, or the tools of financing of companies. SMEs can be grouped in three categories. One is when a company is importing, so imports goods from abroad. The second is when it is exporting company. And the third is when she creates subsidiaries, affiliates abroad. So produces, puts a network outside of the country. Those three categories may present different strategies. That means that they may begin from one category, let's say exporting, and then proceed to a second category that can be the creation of affiliate or subsidiary abroad. Also, we can have in this strategy several stages. That means that they prefer the first beginning to go further to exporting and then to go to subsidiaries. I have here a table that has been produced from some of a study that was built up for the European Union, and for the sample of SMEs that have been asked, we have 30% of those who are only import. So they are only import companies. We have about 18% which are only export companies. And we have 3% that collaborate with foreign SMEs mainly. And we have another 3% that create subsidiaries, affiliate, or a joint venture company abroad. So we have about something more than 40%, 50% of the asked companies that have a kind of collaboration abroad. There are some questions that can be asked when we consider the internationalization of SMEs. One question could be if the small countries are more internationalized than the others. Another question could be if small companies are more internationalized than other companies. Let's answer to those questions. Let's begin with foreign suppliers. That means that SME is an importing company, not exporting, not creating upstairs subsidiary. It is clear that SMEs in small countries often use foreign suppliers than SMEs in major countries. That is obvious because in a small country there are more needs of products, so SMEs in small countries are obliged to go abroad to search for a company that can provide, can supply of products. On the contrary, in a big country, we can find much more products than can be produced in this country. So, if we consider now exports in for relatively small countries, we see that we have a lot of SMEs that are exporting SMEs. This is also quite obvious because in small countries, SMEs have a small market, so it is obvious that they are looking for going abroad to sell their products. Within big countries, we have a very exporting country, which is Germany. If we see now how much exporting, how much internationalized are companies, we see that about nearly 50% of European SMEs that are exporting, exports represent 10% or less of their total turnover. That means we have 50% of those companies which are not very much exporting companies. We have about 6% of exporting SMEs in which exports in turnover is between 50 and 75%. So we have a small part of SMEs who are very much exporting companies. And we have about 12% which are exporting more than 76% of their turnover. So we have a part which is quite important, in fact, which are very, very exporting companies. If we see now the subsidiaries, which is the other form of internationalization, that means that a company goes abroad to create a network or to create a subsidiary or an affiliate. We see that only 1 to 4% of SMEs have a subsidiary abroad in the most European countries. We have some small countries, which is Denmark, which is Switzerland, which is Iceland, in which those SMEs have a lot of subsidiaries created abroad. So these are quite internationalized countries. One other question was if the large firms are more internationalized. The size of the company plays a role, and we see that the bigger the company is, the most internationalized can be. Another question that can be answered is if there are sectors which are more internationalized than other sectors. And we consider two main sectors, the manufacturing and the services sectors. We could consider in the first beginning that some sectors that can be, let's say, much more national sectors that we cannot see very exporting products from them. We realize that even those sectors can be sectors that can be exporting sectors, in which we can see the software, the accounting, counseling, etc. Well, if we see now more in detail, we see that SMEs with foreign suppliers, that means importing SMEs, and if we see the case of the real retail trade, we see that we found indeed 30% of retail trade that are more importing companies, and in the wholesale trade we found it about 27%. And also we can see that in transport and telecommunications we have also quite important importing companies and also exporting companies. If we consider now the intensity of exports and we go to the transport and telecommunications, we see that they have high intensity of exports with 32% of SMEs exporters that exporting more than 50% of their turnover, which is a quite important intensity of exports. And we see the retail sector. This is a sector that has not a very intensity, which does not have a very intensity of exports. And we see that 71% of SME exports represent less than 10% of turnovers. So we have in the retail exporting companies, but there the export or import is not so important. Let's go now to to a second point of the presentation, which is the financing of internationalization. What we can see globally here is that the financing goes in two main categories. One is the financing of to go abroad, and the other is to give some guarantees to companies who want to go abroad in order to limit the risk they undertake. In this overview, I took some tools that have been produced, that have been presented in several countries, and I presented in a very limited way. If someone of you wants some more information, I will be pleased to give you in detail. Let's see now, we have the International Development Contract. The objective of this is to finance the international development. That includes the development of export activity and the implementation abroad. So we have the two categories, just export or also go abroad to create a subsidiary or whatever they want. And you can see that they finance investments that have a low value guarantee, which is the most important for a company, because since from the moment they are not sure they are going to win money, someone has to help them. And this is the financial help that can be given by the state of other specialized financial institutions. What is covered? The cost of adapting products and services to the foreign markets, upgrading cost, exploration expenditures, participation in fairs, equipment and training of the sales team, export, communication cost, sampling cost. So that's more intangible expenditures that are financed by this tool. We have another tool, the credit export. This target is to finance intangible expenses again of investment programs that wants to develop an export business or establishment abroad. It's similar to the previous one. Then we have the guarantee towards banking guarantees on export markets. This is a kind of contra guarantee that a company can receive. That means if a bank wants to give a guarantee for this exporting company, that may be a contra guarantee by another institution that can limit the risk a bank can take. Pre-financing guarantee of export orders. This is also similar. The purpose to allow SMEs to finance all expenses necessary to carry out the contract they can have. A guarantee of contributions to a foreign subsidiary. Now we go to the subsidiary that has been created abroad by a company, and the purpose is to favor the company's expansion with the creation of subsidiaries abroad by providing a guarantee on the economic risk of failure of implantation. Now we go exactly to the risk that a company can take going abroad, and this is indeed this is a main obstacle for an SME to go abroad, because if an SME, a small or medium enterprise, goes abroad and failures, the investment they did, this company did abroad, that can make a very important damage to this company. So someone can have the risk, someone can take the risk of this probably failure. Investments of foreign subsidiaries, this is again a similar tool. Export tax credit, this is also a tool that is a tax incentive from the state from which the state could limit the tax for a company that wants to export or goes abroad. And we have 2, 3 other instruments, tools that are related to insurance prospecting. The purpose of those is to give an insurance for those companies who goes abroad and they have a risk to take. The last one, the insurance on exchange trading, is to cover, the main purpose here is to cover the risk, exchange risk on the exchange rate fluctuation. That means that if a company goes abroad or exports it, or importing or exports and imports of products, and this contract is applied on a money other than euro, this is just to cover the risk of a company in case of fluctuation of the money, let's say dollar or yen, that can have this company by exporting on dollars and or yen or another money than the euro. So this is all about. To resume is that we have exporting companies in 3 categories, either import or export or creating a subsidiary abroad. And we have several instruments for the financing. If we can have 2 or 3 categories of this financing, one main is to cover the risk of failure if the company goes abroad and makes an investment. And the other one is to give some money to the company to go abroad in order to cover some expenditures that the SMEs could not cover or would not cover. And the third one is the exchange rate fluctuation, the risk for the exchange rate fluctuation that can exist. Within those categories, there are several tools that have been undertaken by the state or the specialized financial institution. Well, that's all. Thank you.